Hello and welcome back to Nerly Nerds. Ladies and gentlemen, just a day and a half ago was the start of Kai Cenat's 100-hour Bloodborne stream. And it has already ended, and a lot of people are quite upset about it. Now, you have two sides of the coin. You have the Kai Cenat diehards, who really didn't mind. If anything, they wanted him to stop playing the game, because they wanted him to just get back to doing his normal content. And then you have the other side of the coin, with the Bloodborne stans, who really wanted Bloodborne to be represented in a good way, so that they could fight for a remaster or a PC port, which we'll get into in a minute. But there was a few things that people were upset about, and we're going to get into it today, because there's quite a few things, and the comment section was blowing up. So, first things first, the timescale. Now, as announced, this was meant to be a 100-hour stream. It was announced on Twitter a couple of days ago, and obviously once it started, Kai Cenat himself said that it was going to be a big marathon and that he was going to also do the DLC. So, a lot of people were upset when it ended just after 30 hours. Now, the reason for this was explained by Kai, that he basically had to get back to New York City to do a house tour or a new house video. I'm not sure what it was exactly. I think he had the house and they were going to do a video releasing the house on YouTube, and he had to do that with AMP, and he found it selfish that he was going to stay in his home making this content and not putting in the effort to go back and help the other guys, which is a valid argument, I believe. However, there are a few caveats to this. The fact that he announced this stream just a few days ago, after he had already been kicked out of his most recent house, I think that's where people are drawing the line of the fact that it is a bit annoying that he shouldn't have announced it until he knew that he was going to be in one place for one time for a period of time. That way then he could get the whole stream done and have it be an actual marathon. Now there's also another way to look at it, because it does seem like Kai Cenat wasn't enjoying the game as much as he was expecting to, which also came off in the stream. You could tell that he wasn't having as much of a good time as he was in Elden Ring. Don't get me wrong, he had his ass handed to him quite a few times in Elden Ring, and you could tell he was getting frustrated. But I think with the theme of Bloodborne, which is quite an acquired taste, it's much more gothic, it's much darker, there's not a lot of colour. You've kind of got to be in the mood to play something like Bloodborne, and he didn't seem like he was in the mood to play Bloodborne. I'm going to be honest with you, it was kind of one of those things that you could sense he wasn't having the best of time, and also the viewership was down quite a bit from his time playing Elden Ring. Now, in Elden Ring, he was averaging like 200,000 viewers, upwards of 300,000-400,000 viewers. It was crazy. The amount of numbers he was getting was absolutely unseen. However, he was getting around 65,000 viewers average throughout this entire stream, and I think that was also playing a bit of a mental thing in his back of his head, because obviously you want things to do well, you want your marathon to do well, and I don't think it was quite going how he intended it to go. I think he kind of mistook the popularity of Elden Ring, and obviously having people claiming that they want this Bloodborne remaster and whatnot. I think he kind of didn't realise just how niche Bloodborne was in the Dark Souls community. It is more of a Dark Souls, like, you have to be in that fan base from the start. Elden Ring was a bit more open. You could be a casual, you could come into Elden Ring. A lot of people gave up on Elden Ring because of the difficulty, but you could be more of a casual and come in and play it. But Bloodborne is an acquired taste, and I don't think it quite came across the way he wanted it to. So a lot of people were upset about that, because it did seem at one point that he was just trying to get it done and dusted, and a lot of people did state in the comments that he'd actually skipped a load of bosses, which was something that he didn't really do as much in Elden Ring. In Elden Ring, he did all of the main bosses, and he even did Melania, which is an optional boss, but is obviously known as the hardest boss in FromSoft. So obviously, he had to do that just for the ego side of stuff. So yeah, it's one of those things that I think kind of was played a little bit wrong. I think he didn't quite understand what he was getting himself in for, and unfortunately it kind of came across in the stream itself. But then you've also got how he was playing the game, which also upset a lot of people. So in Bloodborne, you've got to be very aggressive. You don't have as much healing stuff as you do in something like Elden Ring or Dark Souls. You basically have to fight to get life. So if you get hit, you hit back, and that is what builds your life back up. So he wasn't doing this. What he was doing was he was going to this area to pull off a glitch to get his blood echoes up, and then what he would do is then he'd go and spend those blood echoes on healing items to then go into boss fights and basically attack and stand back to heal and then get back into the fight, which is completely the wrong way to play Bloodborne, and a lot of people were pointing this out. You have to be very aggressive, and that way then you heal back up while you're in the fight, and that was annoying quite a lot of the Bloodborne stands. But that is, I think, a bit more of a, you know, you can overlook that if everything else went well. But that was just one thing that seemed to add on to everything else, and I think the Bloodborne people were getting very, very frustrated, especially near the end when he was fighting one boss in particular, and it took about 10 minutes. A lot of people were saying, like, this fight should have been done ages ago, but it is what it is. At the end of the day, everyone's got their play style, but I think a lot of people did accuse him of cheating for doing the glitch to get his blood echoes up, which again kind of goes against it. But at the same time, is if he's going to go and farm anyway, I don't think it's that much of a big deal. But a lot of people were upset by the glitch that he was using, but he also didn't use it to level up. So you know, apples and oranges, it is what it is. But again, that's just one thing that adds on to the pile of stuff that seemed to frustrate the Bloodborne fans. Now, a lot of the Bloodborne fans were hoping for a PlayStation remaster and also for Bloodborne to be released on PC. Now, unfortunately for everyone who was hoping for it to be released on PC, this isn't Kai Cenat's fault at all. It was never going to be released on PC. It isn't a PC available game. It is a PlayStation exclusive. So it was probably never going to be released on any other console or any other platform. It is what it is. That is just the likelihood of it. You may get a remaster in the future. I think that's probably the most plausible thing. Obviously the viewership wasn't the best on this, so I'm not sure if FromSoft are looking at this and thinking maybe we won't bother. I really don't know. It doesn't seem like it is worth it, but that is kind of something that I think you guys got to be aware of. It isn't possible to be on PC, so that is unfortunate for you guys. I'm a PlayStation player, so I can play it on PlayStation. If you do want to play Bloodborne, there is a Elden Ring mod that is called Grayspawn that you could go and add to your Elden Ring and play something that is very similar to Bloodborne, but I think that is probably the closest you're ever going to get. So that's nothing to do with him and his marathon. That is just a matter of fact. But yeah, with the actual marathon itself, a lot of people in the comments were going back and forth at each other. I think the biggest thing that upset a lot of people was the fact that he started a 100-hour marathon, knowing that he probably wasn't going to do a 100-hour marathon. I mean, people were literally stating, why did you start a 100-hour marathon knowing all this information? And obviously, he skipped a lot of bosses, he skipped the DLC, and he gave a valid excuse, and also he was clearly quite unwell. I think people weren't actually paying attention to that. The guy was literally dying on stream. But he did skip a lot of stuff, and I think a lot of people are upset with how the game was represented. So, yeah, I mean, take it how you will. Look at it with a pinch of salt. It kind of is one of those things that I think we've got to give him his props for actually giving the game some attention and actually playing the game. Playing the game for, I mean, 30 hours is a lot of effort. As much as he did sleep in the middle of that, he still played the game for around 22 hours. So, I mean, you've got to give him his props on that alone. But obviously, if you're a die-hard Bloodborne fan, you're obviously going to be upset with how it actually went down. So, yeah, I don't think people can be too mad at him. At the end of the day, like I said, the guy was clearly unwell. He clearly had commitments that he had to go back and sort out. And he has promised then to do the DLC at a later date. So, if he does that, I kind of feel like he's kind of fixed everything. He's done his duty. But again, it's kind of also on your shoulders for not tuning in and viewing if you're that much of a fan. If you really wanted Bloodborne to have this big attention boom, I kind of feel like you needed to tune in for the actual marathon itself, and then it would have got the views that he would have wanted for the actual opportunity for this to be taken to FromSoft, for an opportunity for a remaster. Lots of opportunities, lots of things missed. It is what it is. It's kind of one of those things. It goes both ways, and it's very unfortunate, but it kind of is what it is. I think Bloodborne will get a remaster no matter what. I don't think this stream was really the reasoning for it. Obviously, you've got remasters for Demon Souls and Dark Souls 1. I think it's on their list. I don't think they're not going to do it. So I think no matter what, it was going to happen. But unfortunately, he caught a bit of flack for this marathon. So yeah, let me know in the comments what you guys think, what your opinions are on the marathon itself. I thought it was quite a fun marathon to watch. There were times where I thought, God, he's really not enjoying himself. But I kind of found it funny watching him not enjoy himself, because it was like, I've played Bloodborne, very little, but I wasn't a huge fan when I played it, simply because I didn't come from a Dark Souls background. I started on Elden Ring, which happened way later, but I was never a big Dark Souls fan at the beginning. I've now started playing Dark Souls simply because I enjoyed Elden Ring, but it is a very different theme. It is a very different sort of look and aesthetic. So I can understand why he wasn't a big fan. I really struggled with it when I had a go. And yeah, it is what it is at the end of the day. We kind of got to give people a bit of benefit of the doubt. And yeah, it is what it is. But I think the fact that he played it in the first place and his set was insane, I think you've got to give him some props for that. So yeah, like I said, let me know in the comments what you think. Remember to like and subscribe if you like this kind of content. We're about to release a Dark Souls video, which is my first ever experience on Dark Souls. It ended up being a much bigger video than I intended it to be, but that is coming literally either today or tomorrow. And yeah, I hope to see you guys there. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll see you in the next one. Cheers!
If you enjoyed that video, why not subscribe?
If you enjoyed that video, why not subscribe? It'll help me and Natty continue to do the work that we're doing, and hopefully you'll enjoy it. Thanks!